Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
No breaks. No breaks. No fear. No fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
A big week in British Speedway kicked off with one of the greatest meetings you're ever likely to see. Bellevue edged out a narrow 46-44 advantage over Peterborough from the first leg in a thrilling Premiership Grand Final at the National Speedway Stadium in Manchester.
They're wise, all boys.
Oh, what a clever ride again!
And they hold on for a 3-all, and that was a sensational piece of team riding late on from the Peterborough boys.
They've only been beaten by 2 points.
An incredible night of Speedway, and of course it's only half-time in the tie. We will hear from Peterborough's star man Scott Nicholls. We've also got an extended chat with Peterborough's Ulrich Ostergaard on the way as well, plus for the aces, Steve Worrall and Tom Brennan. We'll also get the thoughts of Eurosport's Kelvin Tatum, looking back on that action from Monday night and looking ahead to a full weekend at the National Speedway Stadium ahead of the Speedway of Nations. We've also got the thoughts of British Speedway Promoters Limited director Chris Louis, looking back on the 2021 season and ahead to the task facing British Speedway heading into 2022. And something for the Wolves fans still to look forward to. Obviously, it wasn't to be in the Premiership playoffs, but still got Rory Schlien's farewell meeting. We'll get an update from Rory before the end of this week's episode.
No breaks, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Well, first to the National Speedway Stadium, where what an advert in front of the TV cameras we had for Speedway as a whole. An absolutely tremendous meeting. If you haven't seen it yet, please do try and catch some of the highlights when they're repeated on TV over the coming days. Bellevue edged a narrow 46-44 advantage over Peterborough from the first leg of a thrilling Premiership Grand Final in Manchester. The Aces were 10 points up with 4 races remaining, but back-to-back 5-1s from the Panthers in Heat 12 and 13 brought them right back into contention ahead of Thursday's return. Dan Bewley with 15 and skipper Steve Worrall on 13 both won 4 races for the home side, whilst the visitors again had to dig deep after Hans Andersen was ruled out following a frightening crash in Heat 3. But Captain Scott Nicholls led by example with 14+1, and that man Chris Harris once again delivering the goods, scoring 10+1 on the night and a trademark bomb round the outside.
Chris Harris coming on strong, having a real go. We've got 1 lap to go. Harris will scrape the boards. He will almost kiss the air fence. Harris is throwing it as a measure of desperation. Here he comes into turn 3 and 4. Have the Aces done enough? No. Harris coming around the outside. Harris has split them. Harris has split them. Wow, that is unbelievable speedway here at the National Speedway Stadium. It's a 4-2 to the Manchester side, but more heroics from that man, a truly remarkable speedway rider, Chris Harris.
What a ride from Chris Harris!
One of the many great heats of Speedway at the National Speedway Stadium from Monday night. Chris Harris there going from 4th to 2nd, pretty much on the final bend of that race to rescue some vital points for the Peterborough Panthers. So Dad's Army do it again then. Scott Nicholls, led by example, had probably, I think, his best ever night at the National Speedway Stadium. And what a time to find that form. Here he is, speaking with Dave Rowe.
Scott Nicholls, that was one massive effort by Peterborough from where you were to get back into a situation where you can still win this thing.
100%. Obviously, to lose hands early on, I feel absolutely terrible. So racing, I couldn't do anything. You feel bad when you knock anyone off, when it's your teammate, and yeah, it kind of really unsettled things for a little bit early on. But we did. We dug in. Man, live to be 8 or 10 down or whatever, to come away 2 down with a half-built team, and Palmtree still got his finger problems and stuff. So yeah, it was a remarkable performance. Sets us up for Thursday. I guess it goes to show that we're in it for the long haul and we want to win it.
As you say, unavoidable. It was so tight on that start-finish line. Hand sort of lifted, came across into you, and there's nothing you can do from there, is there?
No, and as he came across, I kind of picked a little bit of grip up just going into the corner. I could obviously see what was happening, but there's no way I could get across in time, and my footrest went in his front wheel, and obviously went down really hard, and massive blow. Hans is a huge part of the team, not just what he does riding wise, but everyone's witnessed the team spirit we have in the team, and Hans is a big part of that. So it's a massive blow, but we'll soldier on. We'll do the best we can, and see if we can pull out the win.
After that, have you ever ridden this circuit better? 1 minute you were team riding with young Jordan, then you're beating Dan Bewley around here. Is that your best ever night around here?
I'm making a note of it. That's right. They scored more points tonight than I have all season. So, you know what? It's everyone did their bit. Everyone dug in. I'm delighted that I had a good one tonight because it's not my best track. I like it, but I have had indifferent results here. So, let's just keep that momentum going for Thursday.
Thursday, one more big push, big crowd behind you. Anything can still happen, can't it?
100% it can. We've been good at Bellevue this season. They've been good at our place. So we knew it was going to be a tough competition right from the word go. But obviously we want to get that win. We want old Dad's Army to be on top.
Thanks, Scott. Brilliant, matey. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, sets it up nicely for Thursday night, doesn't it, for the return at Peterborough, which will also be live on TV at the East of England Arena. Let's hear from a couple of the Bellevue aces right now. First of all, reserve Tom Brennan, who's wearing a sombrero hat and chatting to Hayley Bromley.
I'm with Tom Brennan, our rising star. Tom, 46 points to 44. Not quite the lead we were hoping to take, not quite the lead we had at the halfway stage, but it is a lead nonetheless that we take to Peterborough.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely not the lead we wanted, but it's a lead, and a win's a win. So for us, it's great. It's definitely momentum on our side. So our track record's been good at Peterborough, so there shouldn't be any reason why we can't come home with the trophy.
A couple of guys did struggle tonight. Obviously, Jai Etheridge, very uncharacteristic bike problems, I think. Hopefully he gets those sorted out for Thursday. Can we go all the way at the East of England Arena?
Yeah, as you say, Jai was very unfortunate this evening. I mean, all year he has put the big points in almost every single meeting. So for him, it's obviously pretty unfortunate. But he sort of carried not only my weight, but he's also carried the team's weight at times. So for him, it's pretty frustrating when it's like that. Obviously when there's a bike problem like that. But and also Brady not being here, obviously that was a pretty big thing. He's obviously been with us through the whole year, and unfortunately had a crash. So, but he's obviously in and out of the pit, so that's obviously great. But like I said before, I really do not see a reason why we can't go to Peterborough now and go and clean up. So.
I mean, you've given those guys plenty to think about tonight. This is the first time we've beaten Peterborough at home, so that's a step in the right direction. 15 heats to go. It's still anyone's game at this point.
Exactly. Speedway is very, very unpredictable, so you really don't know what's going to come next. But I know for sure, we're obviously going to be there. We're going to be ready. We're going to be committed, and we definitely want to bring that league home. I think it's been far too many years since Bellevue's won, so hopefully we can take that league win and bring the trophy back.
Tom Brennan, congratulations tonight. Best of luck for Thursday.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Yeah, what a week for Tom Brennan, by the way, appearing in the Premiership Grand Final, and then this weekend in the Speedway of Nations, named as the under-21 rider and racing against some of the best in the world. And that's got to be a fantastic achievement. Well done to Tom Brennan, because he's had a terrific season and great reward. And we'll talk more about the Speedway of Nations a little later on. Kelvin Tatum will be previewing that, and we'll get Kelvin's thoughts on this meeting in just a few moments, along with the thoughts of Ulrich Ostergaard, who of course has played such a big part in Peterborough's team this season and then missed out right at the very end. So we'll hear from Ulrich very soon too. Right now, back to the Aces pits. Dave Rowe is with Steve Worrall, who had a good night really himself. He got 13 points, won 4 races for the home side. He and Dan Bewley were spearheading the Aces attack on Monday night, and he's been reflecting on that meeting with Dave.
Stevie, that was one very, very intense meeting. Bellevue have won it by 2 points. Could have been more, but you do take a lead to Peterborough.
Yeah, it's a shame really, to throw away what, do we have an 8-point lead at one point. A little bit disappointing, but overall we're taking an advantage of 2 points, so we're better than nothing. And looking forward to Peterborough, the last few times we've been there, we all seem to ride it really well, and obviously we've won both times. So taking that away, I think having that extra 2 points now, hopefully we can finish the job. You have real speed, particularly the first half of the meeting. You reeled off 4 straight wins. Looked fast. Did something change track-wise or set-up-wise late on? Not really. I didn't I lost my edge out the gates in the last 2 heats. I don't know why. have to just look into that. But I felt like he had the speed on the track. It's just when you're trying to fight your way through, especially against such experienced guys, you got Scotty and Bomber or Biane, in almost every heat. You think you got your work cut out. So now fair play to the Panthers. They come back at us, and they broke that lead down, and well done to them. But start again on Thursday.
You mentioned it before, Bellevue's record at Peterborough this year is really impressive. You've won both times, you've won well both times by double figures, so no reason why you can't go down and do it again.
No, well, that's it. It's a track we all seem to enjoy riding, and we've got a lot of power at reserve there. I think Jai likes the place, Tom likes the place, so that'll flip itself around. And obviously if you look at the points from reserve tonight from Peterborough, astronomical. You need a calculator to add it all up, but hopefully role reversed on Thursday, we'll get some firepower from our reserves and finish the job.
Fantastic meeting. We look forward to more of it on Thursday. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely terrific evening, and Steve Worrall there firmly playing his part in proceedings. And part 2 will be Thursday night then. It's Peterborough versus Bellevue, live on Eurosport 2 at 7:30. Do not miss it. It's going to be a cracker, and it's all set up perfectly with just a couple of points in it. And of course the commentary team for that will be Nigel, Pearson and Kelvin Tatum. And after witnessing a terrific evening of Speedway at the National Speedway Stadium, it was all back to the hotel bar for debriefing and cocktails.
Well, we're back at the hotel after what can only be described as a sensational Speedway meeting, Kelv, between Bellevue and Peterborough. Just sum up your thoughts.
Well, it was sensational. It was a staggering fight back by the Panthers. Losing Hans Andersen early on was a big blow. And you've got to say that the Aces held the upper hand. And I think they will be disappointed. They have to be disappointed to be 10 points up, but only actually win the meeting by 2 points. I thought that the Aces would squeak it tonight, and in the end, that's all they did. And that was after some miraculous speedway. I've got to say, you and I think you pointed out, man of the match was Scott Nicholls. Nicholls was vintage tonight, and the effort from the Panthers was extraordinary. But I think I said it actually on live, was that the Speedway was a winner tonight. It was a brilliant advert for British Speedway.
Yes, and I think, to showcase it to a wider audience as well on television is a bonus, because it shows that despite all the doom and gloom, and there is doom and gloom in the sport in this country, despite all that, there's still a heck of a lot of good going on in British Speedway. Yes, and we're fortunate to have this stadium and this track, and it isn't all rosy, you're right, and some of the clubs are struggling, but this is just a little bit of a relief from that, and it gives us all a little bit of a boost. A big crowd, good weather, 2 teams riding out of their skins, fighting for their lives. Some of the effort was almost over the top. When Charles Wright's tearing the fence down, going down the start and finish straight, I mean, crikey. And then comes out in the very next race and doesn't seem to have been affected by that whatever. So, yeah, it was incredible stuff. How worried would Rob Lyon have been when his side had 10 points down with 4 races to go and he's lost Hans Andersen? Well, the writing was on the wall. He must have been seriously concerned. He would have remained upbeat. He would have been positive in his interviews. But deep down, he would have thought, this is slipping away from us. We're going to have to turn the tables big style on Thursday. I think he must be immensely proud of his team to the way they fought back. Those 2 consecutive 5-1s late on in heats 12 and 13, you just couldn't see it coming. And that's what makes the playoffs so exciting, because it looked like it was only going one way. And as it transpired, it's now game on. It's still very much up in the air. Also up in the air is the situation with Peterborough. We know Ulrich Ostergaard is out. We know that Hans Andersen, in all likelihood, will probably be out. Work for Rob Lyon to do to patch up his side. I think he'll be making a few calls now. I think his phone will be red hot over the next 24 hours, that's for sure. He'll be looking at the averages, looking at riders available. You've got Sheffield riders now, of course, as well as Kings Lynn and Ipswich riders available. So Wolverhampton riders possibly as well. You're looking at, I think it's a 7.05 average that Anderson's got. So I don't know. There are, at least he's probably got 1 or 2 riders that he can potentially look to replace him. If it is confirmed as concussion,
then there's quite likelihood that he won't be able to ride on Thursday.
And of course, by the time this is played out on the British Speedway podcast, we may know more. This has been recorded back in the hotel bar, after the meeting, because we retired to the bar to consider the action that we've just enjoyed. And as a commentary job, then events like that, Kelv, I mean, I work in different sports, football, darts and Speedway. You've worked in Speedway commentary longer than I have. It makes a job a pleasure, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes it easy because, you haven't got to find, a description for another 5-1, when it's one-sided. It was wonderful racing on 2 counts, the effort that was being put in by both sides and the scoreline. I mean, it was just going all the way the aces. It was going for the aces all the way down the line. And there was some performance. Michael Palm-Toft coming up with some staggering performances when he needed. Harris, Bjarne Pedersen finally. Jordan Palin started so well, didn't he? Faded a little bit at the end, but certainly did his job. So Stevie Worrall, going great guns. And as I say, our league is not as strong as it once was. We don't lead the world, but that advert tonight stacks up against anything I've witnessed over the last 2 decades.
I'm pretty sure that even Max Frick, who was here tonight watching, he was probably watching and thinking, this is as good as anything I've seen in the Extra League this year. And
I bet you he's a touch envious because he's a racer, he's a Grand Prix man, he's riding at the weekend for his country. But he would have been looking at that thinking, cool, I fancy being involved in that because it was such an exciting night. So, yeah, I think it's absolutely would have stacked up against anything in Sweden or Poland.
What about Thursday then as a final four?
Mm-hmm.
I know it's pretty raw after we've just seen 15 breathtaking races tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Let's cast it forward to Thursday. 2 points advantage to Bellevue. What's going to happen Thursday night?
Well, I just coming into the playoffs, I fancied Peterborough. I thought that they were the favourites, and I thought they'd win. I thought that Bellevue would win tonight, but Peterborough would win overall. They're still up against it because Bellevue have won at the East of England Arena, and they go round there, and they are, to all intents and purposes, a fitter team. There's a few issues going on with, Louis Kerr didn't quite go as well as he would have liked tonight. They've got issues over Hans Andersen and Michael Palm-Toft. He's struggling there. One of the fingers completely broken. Crikey. Just getting the glove on must be an absolute nightmare. But that doesn't deter them, does it? It isn't holding them back. I'm going with Peterborough, but it's going to be a roller coaster again like tonight, I'm sure.
I'll go for Bellevue then. Kel, thanks so much. See you Thursday.
You're very welcome.
And you'll see Nigel and Kelvin on your telly Thursday night, 7:30 on Eurosport 2. And more to come from Nigel and Kelvin in this podcast as well, looking ahead to the Speedway of Nations. And also that test match that's been announced between Great Britain and Poland, which is going to be tremendous, and that's at Glasgow next week. So more on that to come in a little while. Let's hear now from the Wolves team manager, Peter Adams, because, of course, it was Peterborough who made it through to the grand final at the expense of Wolves, despite Wolves really dominating the league table through the course of much of the season, you've got to say. And things really just came unstuck at the wrong point in the season there. Let's hear from Pete Adams now, and he's been summing up the Wolves season with Mike Taylor of BBC WM.
It's been a season where obviously it's come from extraordinary circumstances at the start with the restricted attendances and the late start to at least with filling venues like this in Monmouth Green towards the end of the season. So what was a bit disappointing for Wolves tonight, at least the sport has to that extent got itself back on its feet.
Yeah, and we, as you say, it was a very difficult start for us. But once those restrictions were lifted, the Wolverhampton fans poured in their numbers, and we've been very grateful for their support. Obviously, it's just a shame that we couldn't give them the ultimate contest to watch at the end of the season.
Yeah. Can you make any plans at this stage for next season? Obviously, the regulations and the leagues are all a bit in abeyance, or is there anything you can do before that?
Not really. I think there's a lot of brain power wasted on that aspect. We need to see. Obviously, we know Chris and I how many members of this team we want. Wearing our colours next season. But before you can, finalise those kind of plans, we need to know what the rules and regulations are going to be. And, indeed in Wolverhampton's case, how many teams are going to be in the league, because I think Chris has made it quite clear that if it's 6 again, Wolverhampton won't be one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people I speak to agree that 6 is just not viable in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. 10 league matches in a 20-odd week season, which incidentally used to be 30 weeks, when I first started. 15th of March to the 31st of October, and you would run at home every single, one of those Mondays. That's not the case now, but obviously, this quantity of teams is not viable.
It's not quite over for the promotion for this year, of course. You've got the Olympic to come, which is a big occasion, a great tradition, and Rory's farewell meeting. And I think we should say something about him in advance of that, because he's given the sport in this country great service, and latterly in his career has given Wolverhampton great service too.
Absolutely, I couldn't echo that any more strongly. It's been an absolute pleasure working with him, and I'm just hoping that return trips to Australia become that restrictive that he can't go, and he'll do another season with us. I doubt that, but it'd be nice, because he's been a great servant to British Speedway in general, and in the last few years, Wolverhampton in particular.
Thank you. Well, interesting comments there from Peter Adams on his thoughts looking ahead to 2022. Of course, need to wait for the AGM to take place. And one of the people who, of course, is right at the top table of British Speedway is Chris Louis, who's one of the directors of British Speedway Promoters Limited. And we will hear from Chris Louis his thoughts on how 2021's gone, and one or two hints as to where perhaps things might need to change in British Speedway heading into 2022 on the way. On the subject of Rory Schlien's farewell meeting, which takes place on Monday, Peter Adams paying tribute to Rory in that piece that we just heard with Mike Taylor. Let's hear from Rory Schlien himself. He's been giving Nigel Pearson a little update on preparations for his farewell meeting next Monday.
Really looking forward to my meeting on the 18th. It's been a busy year, and with everything going on with COVID and delaying the season and not knowing when to run my meeting and get a date, and obviously working full-time job, it's been a flat-out season. Also, trying to get organised to go back home to Australia. So, really glad that it's almost upon us. The lineup's looking really, really good. Very happy with the lineup. It's a little bit unfortunate. Hans has had to pull out due to injury, but we've got a good replacement with Nick Morris. The lineup's good. We've got a mixture of youth and experience and friends and guys that I've been training with the No Limits. So it's going to have a little bit of everything, and I just hope everyone can enjoy it. More or less 22 years coming, the curtain's coming down on it, and I just want to try and enjoy it. I had my testimonial back in 2015, and I struggled to enjoy it because I was so busy and just was so snowed under with all the organising. Where this year, yourself, Stephanie Babb have taken a lot of stress and pressure off me with getting stuff done and organised, and Chris Van Straten as well has taken a lot on for me, and without you guys, we would not have got the meeting over the line. So roll on Monday night 7:30. I'll be doing my rain dance, so to keep the clouds away, and I just really hope everyone can turn out and enjoy the night.
Yeah, what a fantastic evening it promises to be as well. That full lineup then for the Rory Schlien farewell meeting. It is Rory Schlien himself, of course, riding. Ryan Douglas, Dan Bewley, Scott Nicholls, Adam Ellis. Hans Andersen was due to be riding, but as you've heard, he's had to pull out of that and will be replaced by Nick Morris. Danny King, Drew Kemp, Jason Doyle, Tom Brennan, Jason Crump, Chris Harris, Sam Masters, Luke Becker, Whittaker and Anders Rowe. An absolutely phenomenal lineup, you've got to say. Great lineup of riders there. And the likes of Jason Doyle, for example, riding in Britain for the first time this season, I believe. And great to have Jason Crump involved in there as well. So a mix of the guys that probably he grew up and started his career with, and some of the youngsters that he's helped in their development to this day as well. So a good mix of youth and experience for the Rory Schlein farewell meeting, and that takes place on Monday night at Monmore Stadium. OK, on the way on No Brakes, No Fear. Next, we're going to hear from Chris Louis, Director of British Speedway Promoters Limited, looking back on how 2021 has gone, because, of course, at the start of this season, in March or April, we didn't know how the season was going to look. We didn't know if we're going to make it to this point, and thankfully we have. And a look ahead to what might lie in store for 2022 as well. And we'll also hear from Ulrich Ostergaard, who played such a big role in Peterborough getting to where they are and in the Premiership playoff final. But unfortunately, injury struck just as he was really on the best form of his career. And we'll hear from Ulrich Ostergaard in the next part of No Brakes, No Fear.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Still to come, we're going to hear from Ulrich Ostergaard, who's going to be reflecting on a fantastic 2021 for him personally, for both Peterborough and the Glasgow Tigers, before his season came to an abrupt end with injury not so long ago. And Nigel, Pearson and Kelvin Tatum look ahead to the Speedway of Nations as some of the world's best converge on the National Speedway Stadium in Manchester this weekend. Right now, though, let's hear from Chris Louis, one of the board of directors of British Speedway Promoters Limited. Now, Episode 1 of No Brakes, No Fear featured Chris Louis along with Rob Godfrey, and at that point we were in April and we were looking ahead to what the season may or may not look like. There were so many unknowns, and frankly just getting through the year was the aim, what with everything that was going on at the time and not knowing how the restrictions would pan out. As it turned out, we've had some fairly decent racing, even as recently as this week, of course. So let's get an update now from Chris Louis and how he thinks 2021 has gone, and a look ahead to what 2022 might have in store and the areas British Speedway is looking to work on. And I started by putting it to Chris about that comment that we made in April about getting through 2021. Chris, would you stand by that, and what's your assessment on how this season has gone as a whole?
I would stand by that. I mean, yeah, you're right. When we spoke back in April, it was gearing up for a season of complete unknowns. We just didn't really know how things would pan out. They panned out okay, as it happens. You know, it's well documented that a few clubs have struggled. Newcastle, Birmingham, Eastbourne, obviously. But to be honest, you know, I think the clubs individually handled the restrictions and everything that went with that quite well. A lot of hard work, obviously, as you said, went into it, particularly from the BSPL side to put things in place pre-season. And then the goalpost sort of started to move, thankfully in the right direction. Wasn't quite soon enough for some clubs. I think it went back at least a month from where it was originally going to be when we started the season. And a few clubs had to take a bit of a sort of summer break or pre-summer break, as it was, and you know, lose a few dates. But that's had to be tagged on to the back end. That's given us a very busy schedule towards the end of the season, but you know, I think in general things have gone as well as they probably could have done.
And some of the things that you were particularly pleased to get into this season, the changes to the youth development, of course, with the Premier Junior League racing after some of the bigger fixtures, and the Rising Star programme as well, as I think being a big success. And we've seen those Rising Star riders really improve over the course of this season in their Premier League lineups.
Yeah, it has been a big success. You know, we need to sort of speed up the progression of these riders, and this year with the inception of the Rising Star programme has done that. For a few, not as many as we would like, but you know, that's always going to evolve as time goes on, and we need to stick with it. We need to make it bigger. And I think it's already proven this year, just with the start that we've made, that it can have that effect, and that's exactly what we need. So I'm really pleased with the way it's gone. You know, there's a few riders have really sort of grabbed
grabbed that opportunity with both hands and made it work for them. So it's down to us now to evolve that and make it bigger and better.
Obviously still the AGM and everything to come, but your attention, no doubt, for both Ipswich and for British Speedway in general, looking to 2022 now. Is the Rising Star programme something that's likely to be expanded? A few managers have mentioned that they would like to see that increased and that sort of system working a little bit on a greater scale, perhaps in British Speedway next year, for example.
Absolutely. As I said, I think with what we've done this year on a relatively small scale, it's shown that it does work and can be made to work. So we need to grow it. It's we've got to stick with it. We've got to make it bigger and better, as I said. And I can't say exactly right now. As you say, we're sort of going in towards the AGM, and there's a lot of talks going on at the moment, various meetings with the leagues and together and separately. So there's a lot to come out in the next, I would say, month or so. Which will involve a lot of talks around the Rising Star programme and how that can be grown as quickly as possible.
Some of the other problems that have been encountered have been both related to COVID, of course, COVID restrictions, but also Brexit affecting travel between other countries around Europe and riders being able to get visas where previously they could just come, but now there's a big application process involved. And you yourself have been victim to that at Ipswich with, for example, Nikolai Clint, finding that the logistics just didn't work out this season. That's not to say that they won't in a subsequent season. And also the restrictions in Poland as well, with the top league restricting riders in where they can ride if they're part of the Extraliga. What can British Speedway do to be more in command of and in control of their destiny and future?
Yeah, a lot of things have sort of converged all at the same time to make life, a lot more difficult than maybe it has been. The thing with the pandemic, you used Nikolai as an example, hopefully was a one-off. Nikolai wouldn't have just jumped ship and changed his mind if there wasn't very good reason, and the pandemic and everything that went around that and the travel restrictions was that reason. So, this year was made so much more difficult in so many ways because of so many different things, the pandemic, Brexit, and of course Poland's decision. So, it's something that we've got to get over, we will get over, and we've got to improve our lot. And there's lots of discussions and things going on right now that I feel will enable that to happen, and probably speed that progress up from our point of view quicker than I thought possibly it could do. So, I'm very positive that the next couple of months is going to bring about some change that's going to allow the sport in this country to get back to where it belongs, really, at the top of World Speedway.
And from a promoter's point of view, the $1 million task really is to get people through the gates, isn't it? Get new fans through the gates, people who've never experienced the sport, and get them to attend a few times and hopefully get them into being a Speedway fan, as well as, of course, getting the people in who are what you might call established fans. How do we do that? How do we get new fans through the gates in this day and age when there's so many other ways to spend your time and ways to spend your money? Yeah,
the sport needs to make itself attractive, certainly to the younger generation. We've got a bit of a gap there. That situation is improving, albeit slowly. There's so many things around it. The sport's got to get just simply more competitive in this country. We've got to get some of the top riders back. We've got to get our crop of British young riders moving faster and becoming stars for the future. And it's I don't think it's any coincidence that the sport crowd numbers have dipped along with losing clubs. We've got gaps around the country, and when you don't have these local derbies, which a lot of clubs don't have anymore, you're gonna lose fan base up and down the country just because of the big gaps we've got around the country in terms of no speedway. So, we've got to find ways of bringing tracks back, and I don't just mean old ones because most of those tracks have gone and so are their stadiums. But we need to be building new tracks around the country and filling those gaps.
Well, one way that we're going to certainly get a lot more Polish fans into one of the British stadiums is by this test match, which has been announced, taking place at Glasgow next week. And a Great Britain team, a very strong Great Britain team featuring Ty Woofenden, Dan Bewley, Robert Lambert, and a Polish side featuring Bartosz Szmaszlik, Dominik Kubera, Maciej Janowski, amongst others. Obviously, there's 6 in each team. A great advert for British Speedway, and quite a coup to have riders of that calibre all meeting together at Glasgow.
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic for Glasgow. We all know that they're a progressive club. And it's great for them to be staging the event. Team GB, Rob Painter, and all the support he gets commercially from the various sponsors that Team GB have obviously collaborated and worked together and worked hard to bring this to our shores. And it's something that we've been missing for so long. I mean, they were great days in my racing days whenever we had a test series against Sweden, Denmark, a lot against Australia at the time, occasionally against the USA. And for me, they were massive. Nothing better than pulling on the Three Lions and giving my all for country. So, really looking forward to that. And they've come back with a bang with this one because in World Speedway it doesn't get a lot tougher than that.
A few weeks ago, we spoke with Peter Versenna of the Glasgow Tigers, and we did touch on the importance of for Glasgow tapping into the Glasgow Polish community, and to that end, Glasgow have got a Polish rider in their team. They've also got a Polish Facebook page, and we saw the reaction from the Polish community when Tobias Muzielak raced in the GP qualifier earlier this summer, and they made a lot of noise, a lot turned out. So to have a full strength Polish national team there with Bartosz Szmaszlik in the lineup, along with Tobias Muzielak and Maciej Janowski, it's going to be a big event, a wonderful atmosphere, and a great occasion for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's Polish communities around every major town in particular, and Glasgow has quite a few Polish residents. So, I think it's great for them, and it's what it's all about. It will be nice to see plenty of red and white to go with the red, white and blue, and see who comes out on top.
Chris Louis, Director of British Speedway Promoters Limited, and of course promoter himself at the Ipswich Witches. If I can give a shameless plug, my other podcast, which is called Humans of Speedway, returns this Thursday. Chris Louis is the guest, so we'll find out all about the backstory with Chris Louis, his appearances in World Finals. He appeared in the very first Cardiff Grand Prix and of course was the captain of that great 1998 Ipswich team as well, along with Thomas Golub and Tony Rickardson in your lineup. It's quite incredible. So that will be out this Thursday. Just search for Humans of Speedway on your podcast app of choice. Now let's talk about Peterborough Panthers because as they get to the grand final, and of course they're halfway through that at the time of recording, with the second part to come this Thursday, with a chance of claiming ultimate glory in British Speedway's Premiership. One rider who will not be in the lineup is Ulrich Ostergaard, but he has been a major part of their success this season and part of that Dad's Army team as such. Unfortunately, he succumbed to injury a few weeks ago, and that's going to be something that he'll not be recovered from until the closed season, but hopefully back in time for 2022. We'll get an update and a look back on an incredible season for Ulrich Ostergaard with Ryan Guest.
Well, Uli, it's obviously been a strange 2021 season. Is it fair to say you were probably in the form of your career when that crash happened at Edinburgh?
Yeah, I would say so. Actually, I had a bad 19. Of course, 2020 was out, and I started the season really well for some reason. Everything worked out from day one. 2 good clubs I was riding for, just trying to enjoy it day by day, and I was going plenty of points, and definitely enjoyed it, and felt 25, even though I'm a bit older than that.
Yeah, there's never a good time to get injured, of course, but like we say, you'd started the season on fire for both Peterborough in the Premiership and Glasgow in the Championship, and even the night before you actually got injured as well, had a stunning meeting at Sheffield as well.
Yeah, it was just some. I don't know why. It just seemed to work. The Sheffield meeting, of course, was in Eurosport as well. My first away meeting for many years has been number one as well. My first heat, I blew up an engine, and I was like, yeah, this is going really well. But my second bike was working perfect, and I think I had 3 heat wins on the bounce and 15 as well. So, yeah, everything was just working out. I was relaxed on the bike, and I was enjoying myself. So, yeah, Speedway is easier when everything goes good and you're enjoying yourself. And, yeah, I definitely did that. So, of course, it's a pain in the neck when I had injury the following night.
Yeah, you mentioned how it happened the following night after such a good meeting at Sheffield as well. Obviously, when the crash happened and obviously you've been able to gather your thoughts on that, did you realise just how serious it probably was?
Not to start with. I think the good thing is I can't remember the crash. There's like 12 hours that's completely gone. I had a really bad concussion. On top of the other injuries I've had, of course. But when I woke up, I felt all right when I was laying in bed at hospital, and I was actually thinking, they do say it's going to be a long recovery time, but I think I'll be all right for the playoffs. But obviously, after a few days, I kind of found out that that wouldn't be possible anyway, and there was no reason for me to try rush back. A broken back's gonna, it's bad enough as it is, so I just wanted to get it healed up probably and wanted to get back 100%. Instead I tried to come back for the playoffs and still be in pain and not be 100%. So decided to say that was it for this season and fully focused on 2022 and fully fit for that.
Yeah, how hard was it to take as well? Not just obviously the injuries, but because of, like we say, the scores and performances you had been producing.
Well, of course, it made it even worse. I'm pretty sure if this injury happened in 19 when everything was going a bit bad, I'd probably think, yeah, that's just the way it is. But because I was doing well, because I was enjoying my racing, I was enjoying the teams I was riding for, it was very frustrating. This team, Peterborough, a lot of quite old people as well, but we were gelling really well. We all had some fun. We were enjoying all the meetings we were going to. So to see the rest of them carrying on and I'm just laying home not being part of it, it's pretty frustrating and something you don't really want to do, but after a couple of weeks you realise it's just what it is, and you get on with it, don't you? You live it day by day, and I've been enjoying the last couple of months at home. I've seen the family, and you do other stuff, don't you? But I want to be fully fit and want to be back for 2022 and carry on where I left.
Yeah, and as you've just touched upon there, obviously Peterborough and Glasgow, they have both gone through the struggles at times. Nevertheless, they've both had fantastic seasons in the end. Got to the main part of the business end of the season, fully involved as well. So, as you said, how difficult is that just watching on from what goes through your mind?
Well, especially around here, I still feel very much part of it because they done our half and we haven't there. So I'm still been on all the team sheets and I've still been there. And I'm still in the group chats and all that as well. So I still feel I'm a big part of it. Obviously, it's just disappointing when you're not able to race. I wanted to be out there and try help the team to win. Whether we win or not, I probably I will get a medal if we win. But it still don't feel the same when you're not there to actually do the job. But it's good to see the team's been carrying on. They're still top of the league, both of them, or up there. So there's a good chance of them to make some finals. And let's just take it day by day.
Yeah, you've talked about the road to recovery as well. Where are we currently at?
I've got an X-ray on Tuesday. Hopefully some good news from the doctor. I can take my brace off, hopefully. Start some more physio. Get back to some more routines where I've only been walking around for a bit and done a bit of cycling as well. But hopefully I can get back to running and into the fitness and start lift some weights and do a bit more than I've been doing. So it's all pretty positive. And again, there's nothing I can't do really. I'm just trying to take it a bit more steady than normal. So there's still 6 months before the tape goes up again. And right now I'm just hoping there's going to be a couple of clubs out there who wants me for next season, and I'll definitely be ready for that.
I'm sure that there will be one or two takers for Ulrich Ostergaard. What a tremendous season he's had this year. And I think all of the boys obviously involved with Peterborough have had a fantastic time. Especially, it was always a case of them staying fit, wasn't it? But that experience really has paid off this season. I'm talking like Ulrich Ostergaard's about 300 years old. I'm older than him. He's a whippersnapper. Absolutely no problems whatsoever. So still to come on No Brakes, No Fear, we preview the Speedway of Nations. It's coming to the National Speedway Stadium this weekend with Nigel Pearson and Kelvin Tatum and their thoughts of what lies ahead.
No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
I'm Ian Brennan, this is No Brakes, No Fear, and turning our attention to the international scene because this weekend Britain hosts the final of the Monster Energy FIM Speedway of Nations. 7 countries coming together over 2 days at the National Speedway Stadium. Great Britain are of course involved, and the Great Britain team is made up of Ty Woofenden, Robert Lambert and Tom Brennan. Poland, Sweden, Denmark, Australia, Latvia and France all battling it out over some 43 heats. It's going to be a mega weekend, and if you've got your tickets, you're in for an absolute festival of speedway. And if the track delivers racing like we saw Monday night, then it could be one of the best meetings you're ever going to see in your life. Let's look ahead to that now with the 2 people who will be commentating on the TV for this fixture, Nigel Pearson and Kelvin Tatum, looking ahead to the Speedway of Nations.
So, Kelvin, a busy week in Manchester with Monday night's playoff, of course, that was Bellevue and Peterborough. But also, we're looking ahead to the weekend, and you and I are back in Manchester for the Monster Energy FIM Speedway of Nations. Let's look at Great Britain, as it's the British Speedway podcast. What are your thoughts on the selection? We've been debating this ourselves when we've been in the hotel at Stockley Park on Grand Prix weekends. Stick or twist in terms of GB with Ollie and Simon. They've gone for Robert Lambert, the Grand Prix rider, with Ty, and Tom Brennan as the under-21 reserve. Tell us your thoughts.
I think it was a no-brainer. I think when it was announced that Robert Lambert was going to be a permanent wild card for 2022, his performances at the end of the season, the Grand Prix series, was strong enough to warrant that. You then put into the equation that he's won the European Championship. He has been a full-time Grand Prix rider this year. He's riding in the Extraliga for Torren. I just think that nudges it for him. Woofenden obviously is a no-brainer. Tom Brennan as the under-21 is a nod to Bellevue. He's a Bellevue rider, but he's an upcoming rider. And I have to believe, although he will be very nervous, he knows his way around the National Speedway Stadium. So, yeah, I can understand the decision. It would have been quite a shock, in my opinion, if they'd gone with Bewley.
Well, there must have been a temptation, though, Kelv, because Dan Bewley's been riding Bellevue superbly, albeit in the Premiership and not the Extraliga. So there must have been a temptation to put a Bellevue rider in.
Yes, and I sympathise with the decision. I really do. It wasn't going to be easy when you've got a rider of Bewley's class and ability, and he's a home rider. There must have been a nod towards him. They must have seriously considered it, and that I have sympathy with. But you can't allow sympathy to come into this. You've got to be hard-nosed. It's a world championship. Lambert and Woofenden have ridden well together. They have a silver medal already. They were brilliant in Wrocław a few years ago. Was it 2018? 2018. So, they came so very close to getting the better of Saifutinov and Laguta. If they can reproduce that, they'll go very close.
Poland have Bartosz Marslik and Maciej Janowski. They've gone for Janowski, which is a change to the semi-finals, but they've gone for the man in form.
Yeah, and Dobrocki was there, and he saw the performance of Janowski in the last 2 Grand Prix in Torren, and 2 rostrums, rock solid performance. He's trying to capitalise on that sort of performance. I guess he could have gone with Dudek as well. Dudek won the Czech Golden Helmet. And has requalified. So, he has an embarrassment of riches, really, Rafał Dobrocki. They've also got the under-21 world champion in Jakub Miskowiak. So, they go into the meeting as favourites for me.
But is it a 2-horse race? Can you see Denmark with Nicholls competing with Leon Madsen? No Freddie Lindgren for Sweden. So, I don't know what you think, but I think it is between Poland and Great Britain.
I don't agree with you completely. I think it's a 4-horse race. I think Australia come into the reckoning. I think Doyle and Frick will certainly be more than capable of taking points off people. I think Denmark Will Mickelson and Leon Madsen will also be capable of taking points away from each other. And I see 4 teams battling. It wouldn't surprise me that Great Britain and Poland are in the final on Sunday afternoon. But I do believe that Denmark and Australia have the potential and the quality to certainly be in with a shout as well.
It's going to be fantastic, Kelv, because it's the end of the season. The weather forecast is very good as well, which is important in Manchester in October.
Absolutely.
And
as we know too well.
Yes, and it's going to be a packed house as well. So it really is going to be a fantastic way to bring the curtain down on the season, isn't it?
Yeah, and when you align that with the fact that we didn't have a British Grand Prix, you know, this is a wonderful highlight for Great Britain to have at the end of the season. We're in it. We were seeded, of course. We've got 2 riders that clearly are in decent form, and it's an opportunity for gold. We've got close before, and let's keep our fingers crossed in front of a packed audience, a full house, that we can bring the season down, or the curtain down on the season, with a fabulous result. You know, the National Speedway Stadium is a fantastic venue for this event. The only one disappointment is that the 1st and 3rd in the world are not here. Artem Laguta and Emil Sayfutinov as the reigning champions, it is a shame they're not here. But aside from that, Nigel, we're going to be in for a fabulous couple of nights of Speedway.
Feels like we're living in Manchester at the moment, Kelv, with a bit of a diversion to Peterborough occasionally.
Yeah, I'm spending too much time north of the Watford Gap. Services, Nigel. You know, I'm beginning to learn Northern, so I'm speaking a new language. But hey, look, when you come to such a great venue, coming to Manchester a couple of times in a week, hey, look, I'm more than happy to do that. Aligned with the fact that we're looking like we're going to be blessed with fabulous weather, so we could really have a spectacular end of the season.
Just a final thought, Kelv. Cardiff is back next year, and that is cause for celebration. August the 13th next year. First time at Cardiff since 2019. That is going to be a massive moment for the sport in Britain and on a worldwide scale.
We've missed it, haven't we?
Oh,
Desperately missed it, and I think the fans have as well, of course. And riders as well. Riders love coming to the Principality. So we've got to think that... and also I like it that it's a little bit later in the season. You know, we've had it relatively early in the Grand Prix campaign in previous years. But now we've had it once in September, but it's kind of nice to have that to look forward to. You know it's there. It's never going to be rained off because, funnily enough, it's got a roof, which is great. So, really delighted to see that 2022 is back on the calendar.
Now, of course, we're hoping that we'll be involved. That remains subject to discussion at the moment. But what are your early thoughts on Discovery, Francois Ribeiro, with the presentation that they made in Torren in the press conference? Everything looked really good. Tony Ricardson explaining his vision for youth development as well. They certainly said the right things, and it does excite people, doesn't it?
Yes, it was quite an ambitious announcement they had. Ricardson on side. Great to see a great back in the sport. You know, he went and worked for one of his sponsors for 15 years. He's now retired, as we know, and has the time and the energy. He's still a relatively young man to give to Speedway, and that's wonderful. Francois Ribeiro, who leads the team for the Discovery side of things, for the new rights holders, is ambitious, clearly wants to put his mark on the sport. And let's hope that their vision can be realised, because if it is, then we've only got very exciting times ahead.
All about doubling TV audiences as well, which is very exciting. Just a final thought on Paul Bellamy and his team at BSI. We've worked very closely with them down a number of years, and Paul has been very loyal to us as a duo, hasn't he?
He has, you're right, and for that I'm very grateful. You know, there have been changes of broadcasters on 3 occasions, and we have always been retained by Bellamy and his team. So Paul Bellamy has been loyal to us. You're absolutely right. And, you know, it's a difficult moment for them. You know, it's an end of an era for them. But all in all, they've done a pretty damn good job. And as I say, I can only wish them the very best for the future.
Thanks for your time, Kelv. Bring on Saturday.
Absolutely.
Early start. What does that mean afterwards on Saturday night?
Dangerous.
Thanks very much indeed. See you in Manchester.
Yeah, stand by, Manchester. Sounds like it could be a busy one. Those teams in full then for the Monster Energy FIM Speedway of Nations. Great Britain, Ty Woffenden and Robert Lambert with the under-21 rider Tom Brennan. Poland field Bartosz Szmarszlik and Maciej Janowski with Jakub Miskowiak as their under-21. Sweden, it's Pontus Aspergren and Jakob Thorsell with Philip Hestrom Bangs as their under-21 rider. Denmark field Leon Madsen and Mikkel Mikkelsen with their under-21 as Mads Hansen. Australia are made up of Jason Doyle and Max Frick and Kenyon Rue as the under-21. For Latvia, it's Andrei Lebedevs and Oleg Mihailovs and Francis Gusts as the under-21. And for France, it's David Balego and Dimitri Berger with the under-21 of Stephen Gore, who are three riders well known to British Speedway. Gets underway at 4 o'clock on both Saturday and Sunday. A sellout crowd at the National Speedway Stadium makes for a fantastic occasion, and good luck to everybody involved. And we'll have reaction from that, I'm sure, on No Brakes, No Fear next week. And also we will know by this time next week who will be the Premiership champions of British Speedway. Will it be Peterborough? Will it be Bellevue? It certainly serves up to be a great occasion, and that is live on Eurosport 2 on Thursday evening at 7:30. Have a great week in Speedway, wherever you're heading, wherever you're going, whatever you're looking forward to, particularly if you're heading to the Speedway of Nations. Have a fantastic time. Of course, if you've enjoyed the podcast, you can leave us a review and a rating. That's always much appreciated. This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network, which is a great place to find all manner of different sporting podcasts. Whatever wets your whistle, baseball, basketball, NFL, hockey, golf, motor racing. There's all sorts on there, including Talking Point, the Planet F1 podcast, Snooker Scene, and the Football Stories podcast. All available right now. And there's more Speedway entertainment there too, including Humans of Speedway, which returns this Thursday. And we're chatting with Chris Louis about all of his life and times and how his dream meeting would look as well. Who would make his dream team? How many members of the Ipswich 98 team will make the final cut? Find out on that, which is released this Thursday. And No Brakes, No Fear, we're back next Tuesday evening, and is a Nigel Pearson Media Limited production for British Speedway.
No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Sports Social Podcast Network.